Alright, everybody knows that Jimi Hendrix was a great genius on the guitar, that he stretched the parameters of guitar playing, basically reinvented the role of the rock guitarist. He also caused massive shockwaves across the culture, and he was able to successfully combine different styles of music that had never been combined before, such as Delta blues, jazz, psychedelia, and hard rock. But Hendrix was brilliant beyond just his capacities as a musician, and in this video we're going to talk about 3 brilliant talents that Jimi Hendrix had that didn't have anything at all to do with guitar playing or had very little to do with guitar playing. And I'd like to give a shout out to one of my viewers named Crypto Squirrel 5667, who commented on my video of what Jimi Hendrix really sounds like on guitar by saying basically the things I'm going to touch on in this video. So he was way ahead of the game, and I'll give him a shout out for that, him or her. So back to the topic. Here are my list of 3 brilliant talents that Jimi Hendrix had that didn't have anything to do with guitar. Number 3, Hendrix was a master of fashion. He was a master of style. He dressed with great flair and creativity. He also used various hairstyles and looks to create his image, and he just was basically camera ready at all times. It's hard to believe that Hendrix really only had about a 3 or 4 year professional music career where he was in the spotlight all the time. And during that time, he was photographed thousands and thousands of times. And he basically always looks good, whether he was going for a straight up bluesman look or a Spanish gypsy look or a Native American look or a ghetto pimp look, or a mashup of all of those together. Hendrix always managed to project a really effective image, and he was on his own here. He didn't have a team of stylists and assistants to show him what to do and teach him how to dress. My number 2 area of genius for Hendrix without his guitar is song lyrics. Jimi Hendrix was a great lyric writer. Whether you're talking about famous songs like The Wind Cries Mary or Purple Haze, or you're talking about kind of obscure B-sides like Dolly Dagger or Castles Made of Sand, Hendrix always had a poetic bent to what he was doing with his lyrics. He may have drawn a lot of this from Bob Dylan, but he also seems to have cut out a path on his own. He's a good storyteller. He uses a lot of emotion. There's a lot of interesting characters in his lyrics. He uses a lot of color. And while he often does write about his personal experiences, he usually layers a narrative over that. He turns his personal experiences into myth and puts them into song. And I think that for the time that Hendrix was writing lyrics, he was particularly innovative. And I think that also his words don't get enough credit and respect, probably due to the overwhelming brilliance of his musicianship. Now, my number 1 way that Jimi Hendrix was a genius without his guitar is in interviews. Hendrix was a master of the interview, and as I mentioned previously, his career was very short, and in that very short time, he gave quite a number of interviews, and each interview that he gave is illuminating and filled with all kinds of insights. But more importantly, they're filled with something that is pointedly missing from a lot of celebrity interviews in the modern age, which is honesty. And I'm going to give just one small example of that real quick. Hendrix here from an interview he did on the Dick Cavett show. So let's take a listen to just one of his answers here to show you what I'm talking about.
Someone said it's hard to sing the blues when you're making that kind of money. This assumes that you can't be unhappy and have a lot of money.
Yeah, well, sometimes it gets to be really easy to sing the blues when you're supposed to be making all this much money, you know. Because, like, money it's getting to be out of hand now, you know. It's, you know, and like musicians, especially young cats, you know, they get a chance to make all this money and they say, "Oh, this is fantastic." And like I said before, they lose themselves and they forget about the music itself, you know. They forget about their talents. They forget about the other half of them. So therefore, you can sing a whole lot of blues.
That is brutally honest information from Jimi Hendrix. This interview was given back in 1969, but the rules still apply. Many musicians are drawn to the lure of big money and big fame, but it often comes at a serious price, meaning they have to abandon what made them fall in love with music in the first place, which is the joy of playing and the joy of creation. Now, what's so interesting about Hendrix there is that he's laying it all out on the line. You notice he's not griping, he's not pointing a finger at anyone, he's not saying, look what the record companies did to me, or look how unfair the music industry is. What he's saying is, boy, it's really not all it's cracked up to be sometimes to be a professional musician. Sure, there's a lot of money flying around, but that doesn't really have anything to do with why I got into this in the first place. Now, anyone that knows anything about Hendrix's life knows that his response here is even more considered and more intelligent than it might seem at first, given the fact that indeed he really was broke. Hendrix poured almost all of the money that he had into building his studio, Electric Ladyland, and his contract with the record companies wasn't very good, and he wasn't necessarily good with money. So Hendrix faced financial problems throughout his entire life. Now, why I play this clip for you is to show you this is basically Hendrix in his interview mode. He's just an honest person. His feet are on the ground. He answers the question you ask him. He answers it intelligently, and he gives you real, true insight into himself, and in this case, into the music industry. We're lucky that he did this because he didn't write an autobiography, and he didn't write anything that was necessarily an official record of his experiences, but he left a lot for us in the interviews that he gave. And I encourage you to go read them because they're every bit as illuminating and entertaining in many cases as his music. This is what I think, but what really matters is what you think. So if you have an idea about this or any other topic connected to classic or contemporary music, please drop it in the section below, and remember to like and subscribe. Also, check out the join button that's available now. If you become a channel member, you'll gain access to members-only polls, badges, videos, and other cool perks you'll see when you click on that button. Also, you can help out the channel by clicking on the Buy Me a Coffee link, going to the Buy Me a Coffee site, and leaving a donation. Every little bit helps this channel stay strong. Thanks a lot.